friends. Here we are. I remember I said it's Super Bowl weekend, so I was gonna maybe talk to you about making patty melts. And one of the reasons for that is I was thinking about it. I had some leftover burgers. I have, the caramelized onions in the freezer that we made together. I don't know when. I don't remember when. Sometime this winter. Oh, it says on the thing, September. Because you write your dates and then you know how long you've had things. So, I mean, during the early days of the pandemic when everybody's working from home and all the kids were home, we realized that we all eat different lunches, right? And I'm going to heat up some lentil soup for my daughter, and my son's going to have just a regular grilled cheese. And so as a result, there are two reasons that we're going to do things this way. One is that, my burgers were in the fridge, right? So they're cold. And my onions, even though they don't come straight out of the freezer, they are cold. So I'm using, a skillet that can go in the oven. And I have the oven on at 275. And so I'm going to make my sandwich first. And I'm going to, get it nice and crispy on the outside. But as is the case, when you've got kind of a thicker thing that you're doing in a skillet, it might not get warm all the way through. And that's the problem with doing things from leftovers. But, I kind of like the fact that I am now not going to have to stand here for a half hour or more and wait for my onions to caramelize. They're already done, right? So that's the reason I do them in advance. So it's fine. We're going to get everything nice and crispy on the outside. And then it's going to warm up in the oven while I'm heating up the lentil soup and making the rolled cheese. Okay? So even though, as we say, I mean, the joke is we're not short order cooks, but I kind of am. And, in my family, that was always kind of a funny, good joke because my dad worked as a short order cook in the coffee lounge at the Graduate Center at Duke when he was at seminary. No, there are too many good things up here. The dog is like, oh, butter, cheese, beef, bread, fantastic. But that's not the way we do it. So I keep my butter. I know I have this running joke with one of my friends. I keep my butter on the counter because it does not go bad and we go through it fast enough. But so that it's soft and spreadable for things like grilled cheese and for things like toast at night. You don't want to pierce the toast, you guys. It's one of my favorite movies, Birdcage. Anyway, don't pierce the toast. So I'm going to take this bread that is buttered and I'm going to put it in the pan. Okay, now what is the problem with rye bread? I like using rye bread. What's the problem with rye bread? Well, it's not square and it's not round. So we're going to address those problems too. But first we're going to address the problem of the cheese. So, cheese is square, right? I mean, when you get this pre-sliced kind, which is what I'm going to use on this. And the bread is not. So I'm going to put 1.5 slices on each side. Okay, so I'm going to take another slice. I'm going to just kind of fold it in half and put that down on the bread. All right, it's stuck to the pan now. Oh, here. So it looks like that. Gotcha? All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is, so I've got my little patty here. And if I had been planning to make patty melts, I would have made them more oval shaped, but there's a fix. So I have a very sharp, this knife cut me and the checker when I bought this knife, a very, very sharp serrated knife. And I'm just going to kind of cut it through the middle, like concentrating on not cutting my fingers off, you guys, so that it's like this. Okay. I cut it that way. And the dog is losing his mind. I'm going to lay this down on the bread. I didn't get it perfectly even, but that's okay. I'm not a pastry chef. Okay. So we're going to put our onions in here. So I didn't fill up the whole thing because this is a 2-cup container. This is a cup of onions, right? So I put a little wax paper in it to keep it from getting freezer burned. And I'm just going to take them out with a fork. And, a good little glob here. It's not even half the container. And maybe tomorrow we'll make pizzas. And I'll make the caramelized onion pizzas that have been sort of a hit at my parties. back when I used to have a lot of parties. We're getting there, you guys. I might have a party this summer. Okay, now I'm gonna wipe the onion off my fingers because I don't want to touch the cheese and get the rest of the whole thing. So I've got the other half of this, and I'm gonna put that down on there and get another piece of cheese. I mean, I know I'm like teaching you how to make a grilled cheese. We all know how to do this. And then, I mean, the real trick is not getting anything stuck to your butter. Now, I'm gonna take some more butter. I'm gonna butter the other piece of bread. And then we're just gonna kind of get that. I should have turned this on. I usually turn on the pan while I'm putting the other stuff in it to kind of give it a little bit of a head start. Not when the bread is on it, but when the cheese is there. So there we go, our other piece of bread. And put that butter side up, right? Because we're gonna flip it. And, you know, essentially, this is just a waiting game now. We have to wait for the cheese to melt and for the other thing. And why am I using, you know, I started to use this little guy, this ancient 60s pan. I'm using this one because look, do you see there's space around it? It'll give me a little more room to maneuver with my spatula that I didn't get out, okay? And that's kind of it right now. I'm just gonna sit here and wait for this to flip. You know, it's like the rule. If you walk away from a grilled cheese, it burns. So I'm just gonna kind of stand here and stare at it. And we can get, so, you know, a lot of times, you know, you can use whatever kind of bread you like. I like the rye bread with the seeds in it. A lot of people don't or can't eat it because of, you know, health reasons or whatever. I noticed today, you know, or not today, when I bought the bread, I really like the swirly bread, the pumpernickel and rye swirl, but the swirly one didn't have any seeds, and so I'm using the swirly kind. I like the swirly kind. I'm not using the swirly kind, I'm using the kind with seeds. So I don't know that we really need to sit here and watch this thing brown together. I'm going to turn on the little pot of lentil soup. And I guess I can start on my son's grilled cheese, but I don't really want to because I want mine to spend. So, all right, so I have my oven on at like 275, and I'm really just I'm gonna throw that in, and I'm just gonna sit in there for about 10 minutes. And, you know, honestly, if you really want your patty to still be kind of medium rare, for me, that train has kind of sailed because I accidentally left them on the grill pan, even with the heat off, and you know, they got to be more like medium well. So we're just relying on the moistness of the cheese and the onions to help us with that. And you know, as I can hear it kind of sizzle. You'll hear it sizzle, but just don't disturb it until you see the little, you know, the cheese is kind of coming off the sides a little bit. As the cheese starts to wilt down over the sides, that's when you want to check it. And one of the ways you can check it is just kind of move it a little bit. And you'll hear it. It will, if it's toasted, it'll sound a little scratchier. If it's not toasted, it's just going to kind of move too easy. It's going to like slip a little bit. It should sound a little scratchy when you move it, if that makes sense. Okay, so just watch it, flip it, put in the oven. Just don't leave it in the oven for too long. I mean, this is not the kind of thing that you can like just leave in the oven. Like those grilled cheeses that we used to have in elementary school that were like, you know, baked instead of grilled. I mean, they tasted really good, but they were also really dry. I mean, everything tastes good when you're like 10 and starving, right? Or not starving, you know what I mean? Hungry from playing outside. It's too cold to play outside. I mean, I guess we could. Anyway, now I'm just rambling and I'm just still waiting for this thing to go. So have a great day. I think that's it. We'll talk in the comments if you have any questions. Bye.